11 things entrepreneurs wish they learned sooner. Entrepreneurship and running a business come with a lot of challenges. Every challenge and having to work our way through to the solution moves us up the learning curve, and that's very valuable. But unfortunately, we all have to make mistakes and we have to learn tough lessons throughout the process that unfortunately we wish we knew sooner. Because if we had learned those lessons sooner, if we had had that knowledge earlier, we may have been able to make fewer mistakes, get to where we want to go faster. So the faster that we can build up or experience problem-solving toolkit, the faster that we can achieve success and we can reach our goals while minimizing our chances of failure along the way. So we can do it all the hard way and we can try to figure out one step at a time how to build our own business, or if we have the opportunity, we can learn from what other people have done, so hopefully we can get to where we want to go faster and easier. For most of us, the experience of going through the process of building a business gives us that wisdom, but it comes at the price of mistakes and setbacks. So let's talk about 11 common things that when entrepreneurs look back and reflect, they say that they wish they knew sooner. So that way, if we're in the process of building our business, hopefully we can avoid those problems and reach our goals in a faster, easier, more enjoyable, and more fulfilling way. So the first one of those things is to start sooner and just to take action. I can speak to this one very specifically because for me, when I started my digital marketing business, the first 3 months, all I did was learn. I spent a lot of time learning and I wasn't really doing anything. So I was getting smarter, but I wasn't generating any results. I wasn't taking any action. And so I wasn't able to get any closer to where I was going. Once I started, I realized that while I was terrible at a lot of the things I was doing and the stuff I was creating was not very good, that was necessary along the process of evolution to get to where I needed to be. So had I just started that whole process sooner, I would have gotten there a lot faster. Many entrepreneurs end up regretting waiting too long to launch their business because of fear or perfectionism. The fear part of it is it's the unknown. So it's difficult. We don't know what to expect. So there's a little bit of inertia there we have to overcome. But the flip side of that is perfectionism. We're trying to get everything right. We're trying to get all the answers to the test before we even begin learning the subject. And I can promise you that no matter how much you know, and no matter how well and detailed your plans are, once you actually get going, you're going to find that there's a lot of things that you thought were going to work out a certain way that just flat out don't. So you're going to be in a situation where you need to adapt and learn on the fly, make mistakes and learn from those, and hopefully not repeat the same ones again. So the moral of that story is flat out, it's better to start and to learn as we go rather than delay indefinitely, because just embrace the fact that it's not going to be pretty. We're going to make mistakes. Things are not going to be, at their best level when we first get started, but that's the only way we get to where we want to be. When we start to learn to ride a bike as a kid, we don't get on the bike and ride down the street, start popping wheelies and doing tricks. We ride 2 feet, we fall, we skin our knee, it hurts, we get up, we wipe our tears, and we start again. And we do it again and again and again. And eventually we get to a point where we're competent. We get better and better at what we do. Then if we look back to the first day that we started riding a bike, we'd laugh at ourselves. But that whole part of the process was necessary. Even if we had a manual, even if we had videos that showed us all the technique for how to ride a bike, there's still an element of it. We can learn tricks, but there's still an element of it that's experiential in nature, and there's no other way to develop a skill than to use it again and again and again. The second thing that people wish that they knew sooner is to listen to feedback and be open to evolving. One of the challenges we have as entrepreneurs is because we're steering the ship, we also sometimes feel as though we're supposed to have all the answers. We're supposed to always know what direction to go in, what right levers to pull, and everything else. But the fact is, this is a collaborative process. It's collaborative with our customers. It's collaborative with our employees or staff or outsourcers. It's collaborative with everybody that's involved in our business. And so it's vitally important as entrepreneurs and leaders that we actually actively seek out advice, feedback, and everything else, and we incorporate that back into what we're doing. And this can be feedback from customers about our products and services. We can't let our ego get tied to products and services we created, so we're resistant to listening to what they have to say. The customers are ultimately the people that matter in terms of our product. If they don't like it, it doesn't matter how much we do. So we need to listen to them. We need to listen to our mentors. If we have people in our business that are wise, that have advice, that have been through it before, it's super important to listen to their advice. And team members as well. Anybody on our staff, anybody involved in our business can come up with a great idea at any moment and can find a certain distinction that can help us get better at what we're doing and improve our business. And so we want to be open-minded to that, not feel like we have to have all the answers to the test, but more importantly, ask the right questions and be sure that we're soliciting feedback and making this a collaborative process. That's how we bring people in. That's how we resonate people to what we're doing. The third thing is, along the same lines, we don't have to do everything ourselves. You know, as an entrepreneur, when we start off, a lot of times we're a solopreneur. So we are the chief cook and bottle washer. We've got to do the marketing. We've got to do the production. We've got to do the packing and the shipping or whatever else we're doing. And we essentially wear all the hats and do all the roles. Now, we might have a partner, we might have a small staff, and so they might do some of it. But for the most part, we're intimately involved in what the business does and how it does it. And a lot of times we end up doing all of that stuff ourselves. So what happens is there's two challenges with delegation. Number one is financial. So initially we start doing everything ourselves because we can't afford to hire anybody. We don't have a budget. So that makes total sense. It's also a really valuable skill to learn how everything works in your business. That said, once we get to a point where we realize our time needs to be spent on these higher level activities in order to be able to grow, and or we have a little bit more of a budget or some money that we can afford to hire and get some help, we need to delegate. We need to let our ego go. We need to understand that, yes, we might be the best at every one of their tasks in our business, but it's better to let somebody else do it at 80% of what we could do so we can free up all of that extra time to focus on the high leverage things. Otherwise, what we're doing is we're basically buying ourselves a job. Our business is running around doing every menial task inside the business all the time, and that limits our growth because no matter how effective, efficient, and dynamic and hardworking we are, we're one human being. So we have physical limitations and we can't move beyond that. And so we will be limited in terms of how our business can grow. Once we learn to delegate, once we learn to give things away, relinquish control, and not obsess about micromanaging everything, we can build a strong team, and that will ultimately be crucial for growth and for avoiding burnout. We want to be able to recognize our limitations and seek help when we need it, when we're overwhelmed, or when we're doing things that are, for lack of a better term, below our pay grade. There are going to be things that we're doing that we could pay somebody a lot less to do, and our time is worth a lot more if we can generate new sales as a result. The fourth thing that people as entrepreneurs wish that they knew sooner is to develop systems and processes early. This is a massive one, and this is one I'm fully on board with because the fact is, when we start off doing a business, what generally happens is we're in the trenches doing whatever needs to be done. So what happens is, instead of taking the time to add structure or build systems and processes, makes total sense, we just got to get stuff done. All of the processes and intellectual capital is right here. And the problem with that is a couple-fold. First off, if anything ever happens to us, nobody else in the business knows what to do or how to do it. So that's a big problem in and of itself. But beyond that, it relies on our input for every single thing in the business to be able to be done. So what that means is, not only are we the bottleneck holding our business back, but to anyone who outside the business, an outside investor, somebody we might want to, eventually cash out and have an exit strategy, it's not going to be of value to them because all of the business relies in our own mind. It relies in our own abilities. We have to be able to create systems and processes for all the tasks and projects that need to be done, particularly the things that are repetitive. And when we do that, we make our business scalable because now we have a process that we can follow. Not only does that allow us to have consistency in the results and in the way that we do it, it also allows us to offload it to somebody else because all they've got to do is look at the process and follow it. But it also allows us to be able to optimize everything and make things even more efficient. Because if we have a process and these are evolving, living, breathing documents and systems, then what we can do is keep looking at it, keep evaluating it, and say, what about this could we do better? If there's somebody else running it, if we're running it, we give them permission to constantly improve upon the processes because everything changes. The only constant in business is change. And there are always going to be new technologies. There's going to be, new systems and software and processes that we can do that are going to make things easier and faster. So we want to keep streamlining. The more we do this and the better we get at it, the more valuable our business becomes, the more scalable, the more efficient, and the less waste that we have. And that creates a path dependency competitive advantage over all of our competitors that makes it harder for them to catch us. So when we implement efficient systems and processes from the beginning, that can save us a whole lot of time, reduce stress, and accelerate growth. And I know what you might be thinking, well, Brett, that's great, but the problem is I'm so busy, I don't have time for that. Well, my response to that would be, I understand, but you'll never have time for it then. Because unless something that you're currently doing you expect to somehow vanish one day automatically, those tasks are always going to need to be done. So we're going to need to shut down the actual production for a little bit, document the process, then we can restart the production. We may have lost a little bit, but now we're able to give that away to somebody else and get that production going and scale it up even better. The fifth thing that entrepreneurs wish that they knew younger is how to prioritize work-life balance and their personal time. When we start off, we always have to work more, and it's okay because we're passionate about what we're doing, we're excited, so it just is a natural offshoot. We would rather do that than watch TV. We'd rather do that than go to the movies or hang with friends or do anything else. And that makes total sense. But that has to be a short-term mentality because we can only work so hard for so long before we start to break down. It isn't good for us physically, it isn't good for us mentally, emotionally, or spiritually either to constantly be working. So if we need to put in 60, 80 hours a week in the beginning, that's okay. But there has to be a progression, there has to be an exit strategy for that where we evolve into something where we get it down to 40 hours a week or less, hopefully a lot less. Because when we do that, we allow ourselves to recharge our own batteries so we can stay motivated. We give ourselves space to eat healthy, take care of ourselves, which makes us more productive, more effective, and long-term benefits to the business. If we run ourselves like a machine constantly without any maintenance or downtime, what happens? The machine breaks down. Our physical body starts to give out. We have health problems. We're emotionally unhappy. We're miserable about doing our business because we've lost all balance in our life. We've lost all human connection. So being able to prioritize that work-life balance in personal time is vitally important. And even though it seems counterintuitive to not work sometimes, actually by recharging ourselves, when we come back, we're more productive than we would have been if we just stuck our head down and kept working nonstop, sun up to sundown. So entrepreneurs stress the importance of setting boundaries and protecting time for rest, family, and personal stuff once they get rolling, but that's something that if we incorporate from the beginning, we'll be better off. The sixth thing is to focus on building genuine relationships. And I'm going to raise my hand on this one. I'm definitely guilty of this, and it's one of the biggest regrets of my professional life because I was so busy working all the time and trying to get things done that I had all these people around me that I just didn't take the time to develop deep enough relationships with. And the fact is, when they do study after study on happiness, it's rarely related specifically to income or the amount of money we make or the business success we've had. It comes down to how rich our lives are based on genuine relationships that we have and time we spend out of the office. So again, it's sort of ironic and counterintuitive, but the fact of the matter is we've got to build those genuine relationships. When we nurture real connections, there's also business benefits to it, because what happens is there are synergies. There are other opportunities for things that we might not have even recognized. There are people that have been through a struggle we're currently going through that can give us the answers to the test and the shortcut to the top. All of those other benefits, in addition to a better sense of balance and just personal well-being from being connected to other people. So when we make connections with people who know, like, and trust us, it's far more valuable than relying on any particular marketing method as well. Social media, ads, that stuff is all, we're going out to sort of cold audiences trying to convince people instead of building genuine relationships. And that's something that we want to start off early and prioritize it, because it ultimately, again, can pay back in spades. The seventh thing that entrepreneurs look back and say, I wish I knew sooner, is how to embrace mistakes and failures as learning opportunities. Oftentimes our ego gets in the way with this. We believe because we put out our shingle and started off as an entrepreneur that we need to have all the answers, that we need to do everything right, and that we're supposed to not make any mistakes. Nothing could be further from the truth. The vast majority of entrepreneurship is making mistakes, learning from those mistakes, adapting, adjusting, and improving. And the best and greatest and most successful entrepreneurs in the world and in history will tell you they made more mistakes than they did things right. But because they had the right approach and the right mentality about those mistakes, they were able to turn that stuff into successful opportunities and turn that into success. So we want to embrace mistakes and failures as learning opportunities. Instead of getting down or being down on ourselves and feeling bad because we should have foreseen this or could have foreseen it or whatever, what's done is done. What we have to do is focus on moving on. How can we take what we've got and turn this into an opportunity? If something went really badly and maybe it feels like this major crisis, we have to look for a way to turn that into an opportunity that makes us better than before. When we're able to do that, that is one of the biggest keys to being successful as an entrepreneur. So successful entrepreneurs recognize that failures are part of the journey, and they provide lessons if we're just open-minded enough to listen and pay attention to them. We want to invest in continuous learning and self-improvement also, so we continue to get better at what we're doing. Many people wish that they realized earlier the value of learning from books, mentors, and other entrepreneurs, because those experiences can give us a lot of clues to how we can be successful ourselves. The eighth thing that entrepreneurs wish that they knew sooner is to define our vision and values clearly. Now, when we're starting out, a lot of times we may not have a grand vision, and that's okay. We don't even really necessarily need one. We may not even think specifically about our values. But what's important is once we start to create marketing messages and dealing with customers and trying to get prospects and convert them into customers, and once we're trying to add people to our team, partners, investors, staff, employees, outsourcers, whatever, we need to have this stuff laid out, because it's really valuable as a compass that we can use to navigate how to find the right people and how to use the right messaging for what we want. If we don't know what our values are, we may hire somebody with the right skill set, but the wrong values. It's a bad fit, and ultimately the business fails, or they fail in the business because they weren't a culture fit in addition to just a skill set fit. So we want to make sure we know that. And when we're dealing with customers, we want to have values that we constantly reinforce so they know what they can expect from us. And if it resonates with who they are, they'll want to do business with us. So having a well-articulated business vision and set of core values helps guide decision-making and attract like-minded people to our company. This doesn't need to be a 3-week exercise. You can write this stuff down on the back of a napkin in an afternoon. But it's important that we do this and that we keep looking at it and we keep asking, is this still true? And if it's not, adjusting it and making sure we do that. The ninth thing entrepreneurs wish that they would have known sooner is how to be prepared for the emotional challenges that you deal with in entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the roller coaster. It's not the merry-go-round. The job's the merry-go-round. You might have some ups and downs, but it mostly Goes around and around, the paycheck comes in, you do your work, everything's good. But there's also limited upside with that. With a business, it's completely the opposite. It's from one giant climb to one giant fall, and again and again and again, and it will drive you insane if you don't manage your own emotions throughout the process. It can be very rewarding, and it can be absolutely confounding and frustrating. And so we have to have that emotional resilience so we understand that's all part of the package, and we have to be able to handle criticism and setbacks and keep going. The 10th thing they wish they knew is to focus on building a strong team with aligned values. When we hire talented people who share our company's values, it's critical for long-term success because ultimately we want to all be pulling in the same direction. By learning these lessons early, entrepreneurs can potentially avoid some of the common pitfalls and accelerate our path to success. So the takeaway here is that if we listen to the advice of those who've come before us, we can learn from their wisdom, we can avoid some of the problems and challenges they faced, and we can enjoy success faster and easier than doing it all on our own the hard way. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we're fiercely independent, but if we can check our egos and keep an open mind, then we can find a faster way to the top.